This summer, I participated in a faculty learning community sponsored by Ball State's Office of Entrepreneurial Learning. Through the Summer Entrepreneurial Learning Academy, I had the opportunity to redesign elements of an intermediate listening course I teach in the Intensive English Institute at Ball State. In this video, we'll take a look at how I've rethought and then revised one specific learning experience in my listening course redesign. Here I'll focus specifically on critical thinking, an essential aspect of an entrepreneurial mindset. You may be wondering what possible connection entrepreneurship has with language learning. But if you think about it, entrepreneurs are characterized by a particular skill set. Successful entrepreneurs thrive in uncertain, novel situations. Situations that often require critical and creative thinking, tolerance of ambiguity, adaptability, self-initiative, and a certain level of comfort with calculated risk. Incidentally, these are also key factors in successfully navigating a new language and/or culture. Successful language learners have a certain level of comfort with risk as they negotiate meaning and interact with others in new language communities. Successful international students are flexible and adaptable as they work through the dual challenges of learning in a second language and adjusting to the expectations of their new academic cultures. International students who come to the United States to pursue a degree at an American university can use these aspects of an entrepreneurial mindset to help them thrive both linguistically and academically. Critical thinking, in addition to being a vital component of an entrepreneurial mindset, is an essential part of successfully completing the intensive English program at Ball State. Let's take a closer look. The intensive English program where I teach has 7 levels, with each level offering 6 skill-focused classes: writing, grammar, reading, speaking, listening, and vocabulary. Although each class at each level emphasizes a particular language skill, it's expected that language instructors integrate all skills as much as possible. For example, a Level 3 grammar instructor incorporates level-appropriate vocabulary from the Level 3 vocabulary class and might also work closely with the writing and/or reading instructors in order to assess students' production of the grammatical structures they need to master at the level. Critical thinking is an integral part of the IEI curriculum, particularly in the higher levels. In Level 4, there is an observable push for students to develop critical thinking skills in an academic context. The learning objectives clearly communicate this expectation. Students demonstrate critical thinking in response to texts they are reading and lectures they are listening to by forming cohesive arguments to clearly communicate their own positions both in written and spoken English. One way I've identified to equip students in building their own arguments is by modeling note-taking as a means of learning to enhance critical thinking. While listening in an academic context, taking notes is not simply a means of recording information, but a strategy to actively engage with ideas presented by a speaker or lecturer. In the next step of the redesign process, I developed essential questions that embody the big ideas of my course. Essential questions guide student inquiry by generating intellectual curiosity. Essential questions to help students come to see note-taking as a tool for critical thinking include: what do good note-takers do, especially when they don't understand or catch everything? How does context influence how I listen and take notes? How do experience, education, and reputation influence credibility? How can I differentiate fact from opinion while listening and indicate this in my notes? What would a strong argument or message look like visually? By posing these questions, students are primed to investigate how note-taking can help them think critically and engage intellectually when listening in a variety of contexts. Essential questions provide an intellectual target to reach towards while bringing the learning goals of a course into focus. Learning goals should be transferable not only to other classes the students take, but also serve students as they move into their life beyond university. By approaching note-taking as a means of critical thinking, students have the opportunity to develop their process for listening critically to arguments and messages in a variety of contexts. In an increasingly complex and interconnected world, this is an essential skill with real application beyond academic life. In a typical course redesign, big ideas, essential questions, and transferable learning goals set the foundation for development of new course objectives. As we've seen, though, my course lives within the context of an interconnected curriculum. I cannot change the preset outcomes of my course. However, I can design robust learning experiences by cultivating a deep understanding of my course's curricular context. In Level 4 listening, students watch several lectures a week in order to develop their listening and note-taking skills. The outcomes in Level 4 listening are designed to encourage students to identify salient ideas within authentic academic lectures, paying close attention to both details and overarching message. Students are encouraged to use whatever note-taking methods they find most effective in taking accurate, thorough notes. The summative assessment for Level 4 listening is a standardized departmental exam, proctored and rated by a team of assigned faculty from the Intensive English Institute. This final exam is a high-stakes situation, accounting for 25% of students' final course grade. Students watch a short 9 to 10-minute lecture 2 times and take notes. They have the remainder of the 60-minute exam period to answer a combination of multiple choice and short answer questions designed to measure students' ability to identify and summarize key details from the lecture. IEI faculty then rate the exam based on quality of thought and grammatical accuracy. In light of this curricular context, and informed by my time in the Summer Entrepreneurial Learning Academy, I've redesigned several assignments and projects in Level 4 listening. Nevertheless, this is not a linear process. After teaching the redesigned elements of the course, I took time for reflection and found further room for revision. By revisiting the big ideas, essential questions, and learning goals I've identified for Level 4 listening, I started to specifically rethink a group project that I had not previously considered revising. I've used variations of a group discussion leader project in my higher level listening classes for a number of years. Before beginning a discussion, group leaders for the week summarize the main ideas from a lecture. Students then critically consider the ideas, arguments, and message presented in the lecture through class discussion. This gives me an opportunity to measure how well the discussion leaders understand key information from the lecture and how well they can summarize that information to a group of peers. It also provides an authentic context for everyone to listen to a lecture and take notes, and then practice asking for clarification during the discussion. After teaching Level 4 listening with my redesigned course elements, I realized that this particular project lacked alignment with how I view note-taking as a tool for critical thinking. Students needed to take notes for the lecture, but deeper thought was not necessarily required in the process. Because of this, I've restructured the group discussion leader project to emphasize more clearly note-taking as a tool for thinking critically about the ideas, arguments, and message presented in an academic lecture. In the revised assignment, students will continue to listen to a lecture and to take notes individually using whatever note-taking techniques or strategies they prefer. I will have them video record their paper as they take notes to later self-reflect on how the note-taking strategies they used helped them better understand the information from the lecture. After each student has listened to the lecture and taken notes individually, the group discussion leaders will review their notes and think critically by prioritizing the most important details from the lecture and identifying the central message. They will use concept mapping to organize and prioritize the key details from the lecture and to help them lead the class discussion. Using their concept map, the discussion leaders will provide a brief summary of the lecture and share their individual strategies for taking notes. Their peers will then evaluate how the leaders organized the most important information within the concept map and will provide feedback on how accurately the overall message of the lecture is visually represented. In this video, we've taken an in-depth look at how I've rethought and then revised one specific learning experience in my Level 4 listening course redesign. By cultivating a deep understanding of my course's curricular context, I've strived to design a robust learning experience for my students. My hope is that through this revised group discussion leader project, students will learn to use note-taking as a tool for deeply and critically considering the ideas, arguments, and messages presented in academic lectures.